What's up guys, GRC here, finally back with another mouse review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Zowie EC2 knockoff, the G-Wolves G302. As always, timestamps will be in the description box below. In case you want to skip ahead or skip whole sections or whatever, you're free to do so. But spoiler alert, the G302 has been my main and my number one ever since I got it. It's just a fantastic mouse and almost one that's hard not to recommend given its price point of just $30. There are, however, a few potential deal breakers though, so let's just get right into it. First up is shape and shell. Being an EC2 clone, this is where the mouse really shines. I took some measurements and compared the G302 against the EC2A, and they were all within 1mm of each other, basically margin of error. Where the G-Wolves G302 does stray from the Zowie line is in its coating. It has a fantastic matte finish, which is great for people like me whose hands tend to sweat a lot while gaming. Honestly, I wasn't really expecting the coating to make that much of a difference, so it was a pleasant surprise when all of a sudden I was playing really well with it. I had always played fairly well with the EC2A, but I think due to its somewhat slick coating, I lacked consistency, which is exactly what I found in the G302. The shell also feels solid and well built, there is no creaking when stressed. As far as comfort goes, it knocks it out of the park here. It's well below the 100 gram mark, coming in at 88. If you watched my EC2A review way back when, you'll remember I said it was a bit small for my 20.5 by 10.5 centimeter hand, and that remains true with the G302, but the different coating is able to make up for at least some of that. Shape and shell altogether earn a score of 28 out of 30. Buttons were another pleasant surprise, easily surpassing those found in the EC series. Mouse 1 and 2 have little pre-travel and unfortunately too much post-travel. Thankfully, it's not really an issue or even noticeable unless you press down hard. Aside from that, mouse 1 and 2 are really good, offering great tactility and a satisfying click. When it comes to stiffness, they're sort of middle of the road. I wouldn't consider them too firm or too light. The side buttons here are good too, much better than those found on the EC series. Pre-travel is minimal, there's a bit too much post-travel, but thankfully, again, it's not really an issue while gaming. Positioning is also good. The scroll wheel is one of the few weak points of this mouse. It offers very low tactility in its steps. It's good for browsing, but bad for gaming. It also just feels cheap and like it might break at any moment. Mouse 3 offers a good click, but is fairly stiff. Overall, buttons and scroll wheel earn a total score of 24 out of 30. The G302 is using the PixArt 3325 sensor. It's perfectly passable and usable in game. It's not going to win any awards for its accuracy or responsiveness, but I never once encountered an issue while playing competitive Overwatch. On the bottom, there's a DPI and polling rate switch, so you can change those without software. Do note that the liftoff distance for this mouse is rather high. I had it loose tracking somewhere in between 2 and 3 DVD widths, or 2.24 and 3.36 millimeters. The LOD wasn't an issue for me, but it could be if you use a very low sensitivity, or if you just don't like a high liftoff distance. Overall, sensor earns a total score of 16 out of 20. The mouse feet are some of the best I've found on what would be considered a budget mouse. They feel almost identical to the Zowie EC series mouse feet, and that's a very good thing. Not only that, they are the exact same size as the mouse feet found on the EC series, so if you want to get a pair of Hyperglides, throw those on the G302, you can do that as well. Just make sure to get the Z2 model. Mouse feet earn a score of 9 out of 10. The cable is not bad for a budget mouse, but it really can't compete with the higher end cables like those found on the Final Mouse Air 58 or Glorious Model O. Unfortunately, it retains too much of its shape, and it's not particularly flexible. It's also a bit shorter than your standard mouse cable. I measured it at just 67 inches, while the EC2As came in at 84. Overall, cable earns a score of 7 out of 10. The value here is excellent. For half the price of a Zowie EC2A, you can get a mouse that in my opinion is far better. At the time of this video, the G302 can be had for $22.50 plus shipping. When I bought it, it was around that price, and with a slow shipping speed, it ended up costing about $30. G-Wolves basically took the EC2 mouse and tried to improve upon it further, with some slightly mixed results. The shell and buttons are greatly improved, while the sensor and cable are actually worse on the G302. But like much of life, it's a trade-off, and one I'm more than happy to accept. Most people probably won't even be able to tell it's a different sensor,
and the issues with its cable are mitigated by a mouse bungee. Personally, buttons and shell are at the top of my priority list when choosing a mouse, and that's why the G-Wolves G302 has been my number one ever since I got it. Not to mention that there is also software for this mouse. If you want to set custom DPIs or remap buttons, you can. Unfortunately, you cannot change the liftoff distance. Personally, I have very little use for mouse software, but it's almost always a welcome addition. Value earns a perfect score of 10 out of 10. So who is this mouse for? I'd say if you have hands under 21 centimeters and prefer a claw or palm style grip, it's at least worth checking out. If you already know you love the EC2 shape, I would consider this a worthy upgrade. G-Wolves really got a lot right with this mouse, and it's great to see a smaller company showing Zowie how it should be done. More companies making mice means greater competition, which in the end is better for us consumers. Overall, with their weighted values in total, the G302 earns a score of 85%. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching.